the Sliver Queen deck, and I had this amazing game playing against Imperious Stewart, in which I decided to mulligan aggressively and almost paid for it. I definitely paid for it for the whole first half of the game. So looks like we've got the glitch again, where I'm going to be playing at the top, but my hand's at the bottom. He's playing Maelstrom Wanderer, and as I said, I'm playing Queen. So I decided to mulligan a perfectly keepable hand because it didn't have any search and it didn't have fast mana. And without those two things, it's just a slow hand that doesn't really get me there, and I have to top deck right off the beginning. So I mulliganed into this hand filled with broken, absurd cards, but no mana to play them. Mulligan again into this and decide I'm going to keep it. I've got Mana Drain and Karn. This is treated like a ramp spell, and this is a perfect use of accelerated mana. And I also have a third mana for a Vindicate. So hold on a moment. Let's see. So my opponent oracles directly into land. Always awesome when you can hit land with that guy. He's so much weaker when you don't. I fortunately top deck a land myself, and it's blue, so I'm able to mana drain here. His Harmonize, and down comes Karn, and I go directly for his blue-red land there. Hopefully keep him off a red so that he's not able to direct damage Karn. Play something like, Bloodbraid Elf or something like Wheel of Fortune, although maybe Wheel would be okay. Anyway, he's able to cultivate and go get himself another red source, and then he taps, and I figure he's going to bolt Karn. I'm like, no, but it's just a top. So I'm able to take a card out of his hand, play a map, and fetch myself a Strip Mine so that I can kill his red again. And he, like a champ, slams down Oracle of Moldiah and hits not only Boseiju, which is totally awesome, but a Raging Ravine, revealing a Stomping Ground. Oh my gosh, so I went from having a good fighting game to being way, way, way behind, and he's getting dangerously close to Maelstrom Wanderer mana. So, what do I do? So, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And what I do is I decide, first I take a card out of his hand, and I go ahead and Vindicate his red, and, oh no, I don't take a card out of his hand, excuse me, I Vindicate his red and then kill his Oracle. I know he's got a red land on top, but that'll only give him 6 mana, so he can build a Maelstrom Wanderer, and this will hopefully buy me some time. If he doesn't have any significant plays here, he's not going to play the Red Titan. I don't know what he's got in there, but he plays Zealous Conscript, so I figured he'd Conscript Karn and then hit a card out of my hand, which would have been okay with me. I actually wanted him to do that, because if had he done that, Karn would end up with 6 counters, I could throw a, Worthless Mox, and that'd be cool, but instead, he does this. So he's got haste, Karn is doomed, and I am in big trouble, and he searches for Sylvan Primordial. So, look at the situation here, how insanely behind I am. He's got almost Maelstrom Wanderer mana, he's got threats, he's got a Primordial on top, he has an active top going, and I have this junk. A Mox that doesn't do anything, 3 lands, an Imperial Seal, and a Stroke. How do you win from this position? Well, top decking a Plateau may not be the way you win from here, but I decided that I'm going to do is I'm going to Imperial Seal for a Crucible, and try to, even though I know I'm hoping that he's going to play his Sylvan Primordial, and then just kill one of my lands, and then I'll play Crucible and start strip mining him again. But I figured either way, a mana source is doomed, so I might as well go get Crucible because it's a mana source replacement. But he doesn't make that play. He plays Urban Evolution, so he's able to draw 3 cards and play a Kessig Wolf Run. How horrible. So now, even if I'm ever able to get a Queen down, I'm not going to be able to block. I'm not going to be able to live. He's just going to smash me and get the win that way. So I draw the Crucible, and I make the play, and I try to kill his red, trying to keep him off his queen. Strange thing here is also red for Kessig is, it's a good thing to kill. So, strange thing here is he's only played one blue. I've killed red, red, and red. If I'd have just killed his blue, he wouldn't have been able to play that Urban Evolution. And he plays another red source. And, of course, Primordial's the Crucible, which allows him to fetch yet another land, so there's a second blue source, so crushing his mana is looking pretty much impossible. In fact, there's very little I can possibly draw here that's going to get me in the game. I heard Mesa, probably not really yet. So the best thing I can do is play a queen and say go and hope that I don't die this turn. When he plays his commander, hopefully he doesn't flip a time walk or something crazy. But he decides he's going to instead just continue pressing my mana. So he does, and then plays a Fauna Shaman. And that right there gives me time to say go, because I'm not taking damage here. So he's down to one card in hand. I figured if he's got Fauna Shaman, he's probably just going to go fetch Sower of Temptation here. But what he does is he pitches a Snapcaster to fetch Godo Bandit Warlord. So Godo comes down. Instead of disrupting me, what you want to do with your plays is develop and disrupt. This neither develops nor disrupts. Well, I suppose it develops in a sense, but it's slow. He could take this, if he had Sower, he could just take this queen here and smash me for 6, 9, 10 points of damage right off the bat. Plus, he would be able to make a bunch of tokens, really 11 if you count Pendelhaven, or he could have just played his commander. But anyway, he fetches a land and then casts Godo so that he can go get Sword of Feast and Famine. So he can double hit me with that. And I guess I can see what he's thinking, to set up. But it gives me time, and I'm able to play Stroke thanks to that Ancient Tomb for 3. And look what I draw. Oh, baby. It is on now. So Winter Orb comes down. I don't have an island. I can't play Tez, Fetch, Orb. That's okay. So I am now moded up, and he is tapped out. No Kessig Wolf Run here. He can't even activate the sword unless he has a land, and if he does make that play, I get to do this. Kill the sword. No free sword play for him. Trade my queen for his guy, and I'm going to take 6 points of damage because he gets a second attack phase, but that's okay. Totally worth it. No double attack phases going forward. So I go ahead and untap Tomb, say go, he untaps the land and says go, I get another land out, pass, play myself a Felwar. So now I've got Felwar Stone and a counterspell, and just pass. He kills a tapped Tomb instead of waiting for me to untap it, which allows me to untap a land next turn instead. Normally that makes sense, you don't want to let them have the mana, but the thing is, it's just not how you want to play under Winter Orb. But playing under Orb is quite difficult, so understandable. So end of his turn, I go ahead and make a Sliver because protecting my life total is key here. I've got the cards I need to win, so I just need to make sure that I don't give him a chance to get in there and finish me off. So I draw a Wargate and decide that I'm going to, since he tapped down low, I'm going to give him an opportunity to make a play here, but I can fetch myself a Soaring that'll pay off for the rest of the game, giving me another Sliver for blocking, and now I am set. This is where I want to be. The best thing he could do is find himself a disenchant, like Naturalize. Of course, a Crow's and Grip, but if he can find a Naturalize style card, then he could Boseiju to play that card and be all set. Or Grudge. Grudge would do it. So he gets down with Temple, and I feel that it's worth the risk to... Well, actually, instead of making guys, I need to be drawing some cards, so I fact with Forbid by ready to go into this, and he separates the piles out. With Demonic Tutor on one pile, and Future Sight and a bunch of cards on the other, I take that. I now have gas for... Forbid. I've got Future Sight for drawing. I've got Tezzeret for drawing. Although Demonic Tutor would have been nice. I'll be okay. This deck is not short on tutors. So before sacking my Delta, I go ahead and play Future Sight, and I see Deep, which I don't want at this time, so I go ahead and sack the Delta. And I now see Mystical Teachings. I can't go get Underground like I wanted because Underground's dead. So I still don't have two black in play. In fact, the only black I have is Opal. But unless I get a spell that costs 2 black, I'm fine. So he goes for a Slime, and I allow the Slime to hit. Thanks to the Mystical Teachings on the top of my deck, the Slime is actually going to help me out. So I search for Mystical Tutor, and well, there's a double black card, but I don't have the second black, so I just ignore it. Mystical Tutor for the card that I want, which is that. Now I'll get a second black. And prepare to will. So Yawgmoth's Will there was going to allow me to play a land, replay the orb. So I could have played, so Will, with 1 floating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, play a land. So 7 mana, up to 7 mana this turn. 2 of it's for orb, that leaves me with 5 mana. I could have played Crucible, and probably what I would have done is played Underground, Crucible, Orb, Demonic Tutor. I would have tapped out, and I would have Demonic Tutor for Force of Will. And then from there, I've got Crucible, Strip, Orb, and I think that was a pretty good position to be in, and Future Sight going. Anyway, he sees the handwriting on the wall, and he gives up. So, just for fun, I'll throw in a couple of other games that I was queuing up, and then I'll bring up the deck list at the end. As always, that was the main game here, the most fun game I've had with Queen today, I think. Although winning is fun in general, it is. Sometimes I like the long slogs, where you have to make crazy plays and you come back from behind. So I decided to keep a slow hand here against Mr. Bosch playing Prime Speaker Zagana, and he has no early plays, which is a big deal because I'm able to get to Forbid. I go ahead and let him have Oracle. It's a luck thing there, but I was hoping he wouldn't luck into a land. He did not, but he had a land in his hand. So I go to end of turn Bant Charm it, and he just eats his guy and gains a life. So I still have my counter ready. Plays Bribery, so it's Time Walk for me since I have no creatures. I get another turn, and he loses a card versus Time Walk, which is get another turn and draw another card. Same difference. So on his turn, he then plays Garrick, and Garrick, of course, is quite good. Too good, in fact, so I counter it. Pass the turn. Plays Moloku. So I fetch myself a Mana Drain. Even at 6 mana, Mana Drain is pretty good. I would definitely play the blue-green Mana Drain in here, but double green is not good. For this deck that wants to be chilling out and doing things, it would probably be, I assume it would be worth playing, but again, I can't afford to try to play a card where I need double green there, so anyway, with the Mana Drain mana, I go ahead and fetch, play a scroll, swap into Tezzeret, into Orb, and he gives up. So the last game I was playing against Netidorian, going first and playing Mikaeus the Lunarch. So keep this hand. Even more awesome if I were going first, as hands typically are, but not always. Sometimes when you have tithe hands or tax hands, you want to go second, so who knows. Speaking of tax, I go ahead and just fetch myself a tax and play it. I'm holding a scroll rack after all. He plays a sword, pumps his guy, and I'm able to start the tax engine. Unfortunately, he's going to take one of the lands out of my hand, so I'm not going to be able to rack for 3 cards every turn. But I can do it for 2. So, let's object myself a tomb rather. So, first things first though, let's get rid of that sword. So I do that. Which means I'm not going to be able to tax this turn. Plays a Mind's Eye with no mana up. And now I can take a card out of his hand, scroll rack vamp, activate the rack, and grudge away his trading post. Now leave a green up in case he does something like sort of fire and ice, equip and attack, or some other nasty play that there's no reason to grudge until I'm ready to draw a card. So he goes for Krovax, and that's fine. Now I can grudge to Mind's Eye before I get a chance to give him any cards. So tax engine going. I'm able to draw, take another card out of his hand rather. Tax away. I don't really need staff. He doesn't have one toughness, guys, and I've got Skorax tax going. So I go after Queen. And say go. Who is an 8/8 thanks to Krovax. So he plays his own staff. He's not able to punch through there. So I draw a few cards. And my Mind Stone, brainstorm away the lands, and cast Tezzeret so I can get some more mana, Shackles, and attempt to steal his Krovax. Now, if he would have pumped his guy, I wouldn't have taken his Krovax. I would have had to play a land next turn, which is fine. And I think that's what he was intending to do here, but he puts a counter on. He says something like, "Oh, I hate that," or something. Yeah. And I commiserate with him. Anyway, so since he screwed that play up, he picks up his guy, but that's why I was holding Karn. And I Karn for his hand. He just pings me for whatever reason. So his Krovax is gone. He draws 2 cards and gives up. And then I'm going to Karn away his staff and start smashing in here, take his guy. It's pretty much over. Especially when I can take Micaeus and then make a bunch of slivers and then make them huge. It's really over. But 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And a queen is, or Tezzeret. So I had 35, and a queen is 42. So really what I could have done on my turn was just scroll for a counterspell, Karn his blocker, activate Tezzeret, and attack for 42. So he was dead. He gives up. Hope you enjoyed those games. I think the first one was the coolest, but they were all pretty solid. This is the deck list I'm using. Basically what I did was I took out the Tuck counter spells. I took them out because this deck is very proactive and aggressive in tapping out to produce mana and cards, in finding solutions with tutors. I don't really have a lot of time to play those counters, and what it came down to is, although they're really good in the format, because I want to be like proactively doing stuff, and because I ran out of essentially deck slots, and I've got ways to tuck with Bant and Terminus, I had to make a cut somewhere. And so really what it came down to is like, do I want to take out the Quiet Spec package, which, Quiet Spec is effectively like a crazy Ancestral Recall? So no, not really. Do I want to take out Steam Augury? Definitely not. Vault? No, because that just goes and fetches Terminus. So other than those, there isn't much else that there's room for. I mean, you could pull like Isochron and Limdol's Vault and put the 2 counters in. It's probably an option. Of all the options, I'd say that's probably the most likely. But I feel like these cards, are probably more powerful than the Tuck counters. I mean, this could be any number of counters. It can be card drawing. This can be anything you want it to be. It can be another way to go get Soul Ring or Sylvan or anything. So, and the thing with the spec package is, while you could take out Quiet Spec, Ray, Grudge, and Deep, you'll always play Teachings. If you take out the others, you can put in Disenchant, Tuck counter, and then you've got an open slot for whatever you want. Maybe like another counterspell or something else. Some kind of card drawing, perhaps, to replace the lost spec. But flashback spells and Steam Augury, flashback spells and Fact or Fiction, flashback spells and spec, like there's so many reasons to play flashback spells. I think that might be a mistake to pull them. They're also very good against counters, obviously. Like, if they're trying to protect their Sylvan Library, you've got 2 Rays of Revelation, 2 Ancient Grudges to kill their Soul Ring and such. It does give you that additional between Spec and Grudge, you get 2 extra ways to kill an early artifact like Soul Ring. Or Sylvan, an early enchantment, Spec and Ray. So, whereas if you play Disenchant, you only have 1, and then you need to figure out what you're going to do with that last slot. You need 2 counters. So, basically I think with Steam Augury in the deck, and having essentially 2 Fact or Fiction style of effects, it makes flashback spells more powerful, and thus more desirable, and so the Quiet Spec package probably stays. So that's my thinking. I hope you have enjoyed the games and you like seeing Queen. It's fun to play something different after a while, and it's also very fun to come back from 3 mana versus 8 and 5 creatures and still find a way to win. So I hope you enjoyed the games, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.